Hey there, fellow 3D printing enthusiasts. Time to talk a little bit more about turning plastic bottles into 3D printing filament. So you're probably all aware that there's no shortage of plastic bottles in this country, and there's a lot of different types of bottles that we can use, and I'm going to cover what we're looking for on these bottles, and in my experience, some of the bottles that I've found that work well and then others that don't work so well. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here we have a variety of plastic bottles that I had about the house. Water, soda bottles, that sort of thing. And the one thing we want to make sure of here is that they are actually PET, or more technically PETE. So what we're going to be looking for is a symbol that looks like this. Now on most of these bottles, we'll find that symbol near the bottom. Here it is on this particular water bottle. On this soda bottle, it's on this bottom corner. And here it is on this 1 liter soda bottle, although this one is a little hard to read. Now here in the States, most of our bottles are clear, and obviously there are some that are green too. I think a lot of you are familiar with 7-Up or Mountain Dew bottles. That's one advantage with those, that they're already colored green. And we'll talk more later about coloring this plastic before we use it. When sourcing these bottles, there's a couple of things that we want to consider. For instance, when we cut these into ribbons, we have to know that the plastic that we have in the bottle is a consistent thickness from the bottom up to the top, because the thickness of this plastic is going to determine how wide we cut our ribbons. You'll see why that's real important later. If the ribbon is too thick, it won't go through the pultruder, and if it's too narrow, you'll end up with a filament that isn't large enough and won't go through the extruder of your printer. Another thing that I look at when picking bottles is how easy is it to get these labels off. For instance, this bottle here, you can see I've begun removing the label, and it's leaving all of this adhesive behind, and I'm going to have to clean that off. We can't leave any adhesive on this plastic before we pultrude it. That will never go through the nozzle of our printer. All that adhesive needs to be removed. This particular bottle, although it's a nice smooth bottle, consistent thickness, a little tough to work with because of that sticker. This one here is a bottle that I do like to use. Although it's smallish and only gets me about 3.5 meters of filament, the label on this is quite easy to remove. I can just take a razor knife, run it down, peel this label back, and that little bit of adhesive that's left on there is really easy to remove. This is another prime example. These larger 1 liter bottles are great because they're smooth from top to bottom. The thickness is consistent, and there's going to be quite a bit of plastic here. The problem with these products is, again, the label. So if I start the label here and remove it, you'll see where I get to the adhesive, and it's leaving all of that behind. That just doesn't come off easy. And I'm really gonna have to work to get all of that off there. So yeah, little time consuming. I wouldn't think much of using a bottle like that. Maybe if we could find one where the label was easier to remove. Now this is a 1 gallon drinking water bottle, and I really like using these. The plastic is consistent from bottom to top, and although it does have some texturing, which we'll talk about in a minute, the label comes off fairly easy. Get it started there, come around, and there's only just a little bit of adhesive left here, and I can easily take that off. When it comes to removing the adhesive, we have quite a few choices there. Some people might use isopropyl alcohol. WD-40 works well in some cases. We have the Goof Off product. This is one that I really like to use, is this Goo Gone. Just spray a little bit on a rag and wipe it on the adhesive and it comes off. And the nice thing about this is it smells like oranges. So let me show you how well this works. You can see on this bottle here the adhesive. I can take a little bit of this, spray it on a rag here. Give it a quick wipe. That adhesive came right off. And it smells like oranges. Did I mention that before? Another factor to consider when selecting bottles to recycle through our pultruder is the bottle itself and whether or not it's smooth or textured. This bottle is smooth. This is going to be real easy to run through my bottle cutter into a ribbon. This bottle here, a drinking water bottle, there's a lot of texturing that'll make it difficult. Plus, this bottle is really flimsy. The plastic is really thick. Our ribbon would have to be fairly wide, which means we're not going to get much plastic out of this. These drinking water bottles, I don't bother wasting my time with. Let's just recycle that one. This bottle got nice thick plastic, but again, it's got some real difficult texturing in it. You can see these ridges that are molded into the bottle. We could probably take those out by putting it under pressure and heating it up, but those are pretty coarse. We may want to set this one aside and look for better bottles. This bottle here, smooth. We can get rid of that adhesive. This bottle could be used, and it's nice soft plastic. Same with this 2-liter bottle here. If we can get that label off there and all that adhesive, this is a good bottle to use as well. And it'll give us quite a bit of plastic. And then we come to this large 1-gallon water bottle. This is the one I mentioned I really like to use, and the ones that we can consistently get from a friend of ours. Now, it does have some texturing in it. It's very slight, and I have a method for getting rid of that texturing. There's a lot of methods for doing the removal of this texturing. I'm going to show you what I use. That's not to say it's the only way to do it. So if you're interested in this next step, where we're going to kind of prepare some of these bottles before we cut them, like, follow, and share, and watch for my next video.